Bye. Hello, year 4. I've got Cordelia here at last. She's kind of on my lap. Oh, she's going in. Just pick her up a little bit. You see her? There we are. There she is. Can you see her? Oh, she's a funny cat. She's Siamese. She's got massive ears. I had to get her in. This is the last week I'm going to do of filming for you, and I'll be finishing the story for you this week as well. And then I thought next week, because it's getting near the end of term, that maybe you could watch. I'm going to find some things on YouTube for you to watch. I found some little Lego stories or retelling of Beowulf and some other sort of Beowulf things on YouTube. So I thought you could watch some of those next week and maybe do your own retelling of the whole story. But so this is our last week. This is week 5 now. I'm just going to read to you quite a bit today, but then the task I'm going to give you 2 days to do the task. It's going to be a comic strip, like a cartoon of what happens in this next bit, split up into 8 pictures. But when I do the screen share, I'll show you how I think you could split it up into 8 parts and turn this next bit of a story into a little comic strip. So I'm going to read a couple of pages now, so make sure you're sitting comfortably and ready to concentrate and ready to listen, and then I'll show you some of the pictures in the other book to go with it. So you can see behind me we've got Beowulf, who's going to be fighting the dragon today, and he's got his shield, shielding himself with his shield and his big, well, it's got sword in here, but it looks like he's got a spear on that picture there. Okay, and remember the last thing that happened is this dragon has taken his revenge, and he's burnt down everywhere where the Geats live, burnt it all down. So Beowulf called the warrior Geats to a meeting. They gathered in the hall of his young cousin Wiglaf. It was made of stone, the only place in the stronghold to have escaped the fire. A crowd of pale faces, and a current of voices, and a counting of heads. Never, said Beowulf, has there been an enemy such as this. But if we wait, it will be worse. This dragon will pay us a second visit. The men around him listened, and they said nothing. There's only one way to put an end to this threat, and only one man who can do it. We've sworn oaths, protested young Wiglaf. I'll never have it said. You've never fought in single combat, Beowulf interrupted. I wrenched off Grendel's arm, and I killed his mother. 50 years ago, Beowulf. I know myself, cousin Wiglaf. Old I may be, but I will fight this fight alone. Wiglaf shook his head unhappily. At least let some of us come with you, said Wiglaf. As you like. I'll need that wretched thief to show me the way. Later that day, Beowulf and 11 Geats, grim-faced in their helmets, left the smoking stronghold and made their way up onto Eagleness. Much against his will, the slave led them to the entrance to the dragon's cave, perched high above the ocean. This is not your fight, he said to his companions. You, loyal Wiglaf, or any of you. I'll kill this dragon and win the gold hoard for the Geats. Then Beowulf walked up under the cliff and saw steaming water spurting through a stone arch, the entrance to the cave. The leader of the Geats felt battle anger begin to pump inside him. He threw out his chest and he gave a great roar. He hammered the grey rock's anvil. At once a guff of smoke issued from the cave. The cliff itself snarled. As the dragon slithered down the slope towards him, Beowulf brandished his sword, nagling. He slashed at the serpent's neck, but he could not pierce its scale corslet. Flames leapt through the air, brighter than the day's bright light. Beowulf sheltered behind his shield. "This is no fight for us," said one Geat. "He was right. No place for us neither. One lick of that fire and we'll all be cinders." Wiglaf angrily rounded on his companions. "Beowulf gave us rings and armour and helmets, and he tempered swords. We all swore to help him, we all swore to help him if ever the need arose." "You heard him," said one man. "You heard what Beowulf said. We'd do best to save our own lives." "You rat!" shouted Wiglaf, and he turned his back on his cowardly companions and stormed up the slope towards Beowulf, calling, "Fight for your name! Fight for your fame! I'm here and I'll help you!" The dragon welcomed Wiglaf with a blast of flame that set fire to his shield. The young warrior sweltered and crouched behind Beowulf's huge iron shield. As the dragon wheeled, dragging its monstrous body over the scree, Beowulf stood up and he crashed, nagling his sword against its head. The sword point stuck in its skull. But then the serpent writhed and bucked, and nagling the sword was not strong enough. It bent and it snapped. Beowulf stared in dismay at his old grey-hued sword, and at once the dragon lunged forward. It gripped Beowulf's neck between his sharp teeth. The old king was bathed in blood. Quickly, Wiglaf took 3 strides and he sank his sword into the dragon's belly. He buried it right up to the hilt. The dragon gasped and let go of Beowulf's neck, and at once the flames began to abate. Then Beowulf fumbled for the deadly knife fastened to his corslet. He closed his eyes and swayed, and then he launched himself forward and fell against the dragon and slit its throat. The serpent gargled. It jerked and shuddered, and it lay still. Beowulf's neck wound began to burn and swell. The dragon's poison gave him great pain. He tottered forward and slumped on a ledge. Wiglaf unfastened the old king's helmet, and then, as Beowulf asked, he hurried up to the cave and brought out some of the hoard so that Beowulf could see it before he died. "A gold cup," he said. "It's made of nothing but gold thread. There are weapons in there too, enough for a whole army. I could not carry them all. Now this great hoard belongs to the Geats," Beowulf said, "and you, cousin Wiglaf, in days to come, you must lead and serve our people." Wiglaf came close to the old king, for his voice was failing. He could only whisper. "After the funeral fire, ask the warriors to build a barrow overlooking the sea." "It will be," said Wiglaf. "Let it tower high on Wellness, Beowulf's barrow, a beacon for seafarers." "It will be so." Beowulf gave his golden collar to Wiglaf, his helmet, his ring, and his corslet. "Take them, Wiglaf. You're the last survivor of our family. The rest are dead, and I must now follow them." It's not quite the end of the book. There's one more page that we're going to read on Wednesday this week, but it is the end of Beowulf in today's little bit of reading. And I'll just show you here some pictures in this book of Beowulf fighting the dragon. He's shielding himself with his shield in that one. A little bit more of the fighting in that one. And then down here, there's Wiglaf is kind of holding Beowulf in his arms as he's dying, and the dragon's dead in this one. Okay, so let's have a look then what we're going to do. So you're going to draw a comic strip today of the dragon slaying, and on the blog you'll see there's a comic strip which looks like that one there that you can print up if you like, or you can just draw your own. You could fold a piece of paper in half and half again, and then half again, so that you've got eight little sections like that. And then in those 8 boxes, you've got a little box at the bottom. So here I've divided the story up into 8 bits of the sort of fighting with the dragon. So number 1, you've got Beowulf and the 11 Geats wearing their helmets go to the cave entrance, which is high up above the ocean. And then number 2, the dragon moves towards Beowulf, who's holding his huge sword, which is called Naegling. Number 3, the dragon's flames leap through the air and Beowulf shelters. He's hiding behind his shield, which is a bit like the picture behind me, is your 3rd picture. Number 4 is when Beowulf sticks his sword into the dragon's head, but the sword snaps. It's his old trusty sword, and it just snaps. Then the dragon manages to get Beowulf's neck, and he bites him, and he holds Beowulf's neck in his jaw. But his cousin, number 6, is his cousin Wiglaf, then comes to sort of save Beowulf, and he sticks his sword into the dragon's belly. And then number 7, Beowulf manages to then get a knife, which he had in his corselet, and he gets it out, and he then cuts the dragon's throat. And then number 8, lastly, Wiglaf brings out a gold cup from the cave, and you could have the dragon dead in the background on that one if you like. Brings it out from the cave and takes it to Beowulf, who's dying on the ground. So a bit of a rather gruesome, isn't it? A lot of this. There we go. That's Anglo-Saxon stories for you, isn't it? So here we go. Let's have a look at this. Features of a comic strip. So you can have speech bubbles. Speech bubbles are usually round or square shapes with a tail pointing to the character's mouth, indicating that that character is the person speaking out loud. So anything that's being said that you want them to be saying to each other, or shouting, or noises that they might be making, can go in speech bubbles. And then the little bit in the little rectangles at the bottom of each picture, although on this one are at the top of each picture, is kind of telling that part of the story, what's happening in that picture. Okay, so I'm going to give you 2 days to do this. This is lesson 1 and lesson 2 this week, because it's quite I think it'll take quite a long time. So you could do 4 of the pictures in one day, and then the other 4 in the next day. Or you could maybe do all your writing today in the little squares and your speech marks, and then do your pictures tomorrow, or the other way around. It's up to you, really. Okay, so have a good day, everyone. Hope you get on all right with your comic strip today and tomorrow, and I shall see you on Wednesday for our final sort of proper Beowulf lesson. Okay, bye-bye, everybody. Have a good couple of days.